Hello and welcome to the CleanSlate theme development tutorial series. Today we are going to be talking about partials. So what is a partial? Let's look at an example. In the previous video we were on this CleanSlate demo site looking at navigation and we came across the breadcrumbs over here. So keep in mind that this site is run by this CleanSlate toolkit, and if we actually dive into the views folder, you'll notice here that this views folder houses a number of templates, and it also has this weird breadcrumbs.html file. You'll notice that this breadcrumbs.html file actually has an underscore before it. What that means is that this file is not a template, it is actually a partial. Now what is a partial? A partial is essentially a place or a file where you can put code that you want to reuse and reference it from one place and one place only. So let's take a look at that. So this is the views and breadcrumbs partial. You'll notice the underscore right here, and we can basically put anything we want in partials. We can put, HTML code, any type of radius, tags, whatever. If we want to reuse the code in any way, we can put it in a partial. So for this particular site, we could actually take this and reuse this breadcrumbs for whatever reason. Say maybe we wanted to go to the future students page, and for whatever reason we wanted to put the breadcrumbs again on the bottom. I don't know why you do that, but you could. That allows us to be able to say, okay, take this code that's modularized and put it wherever we want. And then if we have to change it later, we can change it at one place and it updates everywhere. All right, let's take another quick look at another example of this. So if we go back to views and then we go to layouts, you'll notice that in this folder we have our default layout, and then we have two other partials. For example, this navigation partial. It's just a file with an underscore in front of it and a name. It can be anything. This name can be anything, and in order to designate it as a partial, all you have to do is just add an underscore to the front of it and make sure that it has the .html extension. So for this particular partial, it's outputting our main navigation. So if we look at this page again, the partial is actually going to be containing this entire black bar right here. So we can use that partial to output the navigation for this site. Again, if we wanted to move it to the bottom, we could output it on the bottom again. I'm not sure why you would do that, but it is a possibility, and then that would enable us to be able to change it in one place and it would update everywhere. This really starts helping when when sites get bigger and bigger and more complex. So if you've ever used a CMS like WordPress or Concrete 5 or a number of other CMSs, they have this similar idea of partials. You might be familiar with them as includes, being able to include a file, include code, and put it someplace. That's essentially what partials are. So at this time, if you want to try this out, I would recommend going into one of your themes and maybe creating a new partial and referencing it. I'm actually going to show you how we're going to reference these partials. So that's an important part of this tutorial series. So in order to pull in that breadcrumbs partial, for example, remember the breadcrumbs are right here. What we would do is, and I'll zoom in so we can see it, you would just take this R partial name and then pass it the file name. Notice how we are not passing an underscore right here, nor are we passing the .html extension. It's just breadcrumbs. So if I go back here, this is the breadcrumbs partial, and we go to the back page, we call it by typing in R partial name equals breadcrumbs. Similarly, if we want to check out the other partials within this theme, maybe we go to our layouts folder and note that we have the header and navigation partials. They are both being included in the default.html, hence why they are on the same level. So I click on default.html and I look in here, and there's this R partial name equals header. So that just calls in this header.html. There's a navigation.html partial here. We go back here to our default.html, and indeed here is our navigation partial. So that is how to not only create partials, but then call them using your templates or your layouts. So including partials in your templates and your layouts is an important part of theming for CleanSlate. So at this time, I would recommend pausing the video and taking some time to play with this concept in your own themes. Now that you know what to do and how to call partials, how to make them and how to call them in your templates, let's look at some other things that you can do with partials. You may have noticed that on this, in this layout here, we have a partial up here, but it has this weird theme equals code attribute on it. What does this do? Well, in CleanSlate, there's a concept of shared partials. All right, shared partials are for modularizing code in a theme and then being able to call it from a different theme. So why would you do this? Well, let's look at the Potomac State College, some Potomac State College sites. They have these buttons at the top of their site in their masthead, apply, request info, visit PSC, etc. Let's say we took and we're, for example, on the academic site, we go to admissions. This is an entirely different site, and these buttons still exist here. So maybe we want to actually modularize this these links into one partial. That way, if they change the request info link, which does happen, or they change the visit PSC link, which definitely does happen, we can put that code in one partial and then update it and update it in one spot. And as long as it's referenced as a shared partial, it will update across all the places that we use it. So yeah, let's look at that here. So we actually in this site have our masthead and some footer stuff that is referencing a shared partial, this theme equals code. So we have a masthead here, footer contact, credits, and icons, and it is referencing the code theme. So let's look at that. So this is the masthead right here. This is the footer contact, this is the credits, and what was the other one? The other one was icons, right? So down here, this stuff. So if we actually go over and look at the code for this, so notice how it says theme equals code. This name right here is actually the name of the theme as it's named right here. So if you wanted to reference something shared from the CleanSlate toolkit, you would write, let's go ahead and just do this for illustrative purposes, and you would write in here theme equals CleanSlate toolkit and make sure it's exactly as it's shown in your site settings. So it's got a capital S there, so I want to make sure that the S is capitalized. So that's where that name comes from. And then you'll notice that this also has a path, right? So considering that this doesn't come from the CleanSlate toolkit and it comes from the code theme, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to show you the code theme on Bitbucket. So this is the code theme. I'm gonna, and since this is an HTML partial, we are assuming that it's going to be in the views folder. And you'll notice that this partial has a path. It's got layouts, and then the file name is masthead-v2. So if I click on layouts, we are actually calling this masthead-v2 partial right here. So I can click on this, and let's say we changed, back in the day, for example, we didn't have HTTPS on our website, so maybe we just had HTTP and we wanted to update that across our entire web property. We could come into these shared partials and add the S to our URL, and it would update everywhere. And how do you get it to update? Again, you would go to a theme that uses the shared partial. It says whatever the theme says, theme equals code, for example. You would hit sync theme and it would update everywhere. So one more time, we're going to look at here, there's the footer, contact, credits, and icons. If we go back here, note that the path for these is in the layouts folder. So we're in views in the code theme. We're going to click layouts, and then there's the footer, contact, credits, and icons all right here all these partials exist as shared partials, that are being called from this CleanSlate toolkit and being called into, or being called into the CleanSlate toolkit from the code theme right here. So I hope this is helpful. If you want to know more or read more about partials and shared partials, be sure to check out the CleanSlate help site. Click on How-Tos and Tips, Theme Development, and then on the right here, there's a page called Partials. And this explains how to include a partial in your theme, the naming conventions, and then also shared partials. I hope that clears things up for you. In the next video, we are going to be looking at one of my favorite topics, which is working on CleanSlate themes locally on your own computer with a tool called Hammer VM. Stay tuned.